You're driving and you're feeling drowsy. You should A. Find a safe place to stop for a break. When parking on a public road, drivers should B. Move as far away from traffic as possible. What is the minimum required clearance a motorist must maintain from a cyclist? A. 3 feet. You're driving along an expressway with a speed limit of 70 miles per hour. What is the minimum speed limit unless otherwise posted? C. 50 miles per hour. When drivers see this road sign, D. They must turn around immediately. Cars entering an expressway, B. Must yield the right of way to traffic on the expressway. Most signs used in street work areas are A. Diamond shaped. This sign means B. Hairpin corner ahead. When driving in a roundabout, drivers should C. Use the right turn signal to indicate their intention to exit. The risk of driving impairment begins to rise noticeably at a blood alcohol concentration BAC of and increases rapidly thereafter. D. 0.05%. What should you do as you prepare to turn right at an intersection? A. Signal your turn, check for bicyclists, and do not turn directly in front of a bicyclist. When approaching an intersection, drivers should C. Not pass or change lanes. The towing connection between two vehicles, D. Must not be more than 15 feet long. Red reflectors facing you mean that A. You are on the wrong side of the road. Which signs have black letters on a yellow or orange background? C. Warning signs. Diamond. Tampering with emissions control devices can cause D. Increased air pollution. What does this sign indicate? A. Parallel railroad crossing. Side road. A parent of a child younger than 6 years of age may not C. Leave the child unattended in a motor vehicle for more than 15 minutes. Stop lines, crosswalks, and parking spaces are marked by C. White lines. At night, glare from oncoming cars can B. Reduce your vision. A center lane between lanes of traffic traveling in opposite directions may be designated for A. Left turns only. Pedestrians approaching a railroad highway grade crossing must stop when D. All of the above. Warning devices are flashing, a human flagger is warning of an approaching train, and an approaching train is clearly visible. Right of way may be yield to emergency vehicles. D. Using a siren or flashing red, blue, or white lights. High beam headlights are most effective for speeds faster than B. 25 miles per hour. This sign indicates A slow moving vehicle. When entering an expressway, never stop in the acceleration lane unless D. Traffic is too heavy for you to merge safely. If you're involved in a minor crash and your vehicle is blocking the flow of traffic, you must B. Move it. What is an ideal situation for overtaking and passing another vehicle on the right? C. When the vehicle you're passing is making or about to make a left turn. The length of a point suspension is 1 year for A. 24 points within a 36-month period. The risk of death is times greater if you're thrown from a vehicle in a crash. D. 5 times greater. Before entering a curve, drivers should and watch for oncoming vehicles. C. Slow down, move to the right side of the road. Are motor vehicles allowed to drive in bike lanes? A. No, except at intersections were indicated by broken white lines and only when no bicyclists are present in the bike lane. Your car stalls on the tracks at a railroad crossing, and a collision with a train is imminent. After getting yourself and your passengers out of the car, you should C. Run towards the train but stay off the tracks. Which shape is a warning sign? D. Diamond. Which of the following can be dangerous? D. All of the above. Reading while driving, driving while adjusting the radio, and driving while calling a mobile phone. If a driver doubles the speed of a car, they increase its force of impact by C. 4 times. An orange warning may indicate D. A construction area. Which of the following is not a defensive driving tip? B. Hitting a post is better than hitting a bush. When they see this sign, drivers should D. Be ready to shift to lower gear. Driving 15 miles per hour or less over lawful or posted speed will result in points being added. B. 3 points. If your vehicle enters water, it will float on the surface for before starting to sink. B. 30 to 60 seconds. A bicyclist on a sidewalk or a crosswalk. C. Must yield the right of way to pedestrians. The length of a point suspension is 30 seconds for B. 12 points within a 12-month period. When two vehicles meet on a steep mountain road where neither can pass, which vehicle has the right of way? B. The vehicle traveling uphill. When is it legal to pass another vehicle using the shoulder of a road? D. Never. Parking is not allowed within feet of any stop sign, flashing signal, or traffic signal. A. Within 30 feet. All the expressway entrances have three basic parts. C. Entrance ramp, acceleration lane, and merging area. When they see this sign, drivers C. Should not speed up or brake quickly. At the time of arrest for DUI, you will be administratively suspended if you B. Refuse to submit a chemical test. When passing a truck, drivers should D. Let the truck driver know they are passing by blinking their headlights. Which of the following is not correct? When making a turn, drivers should C. Give a turn signal for at least 10 feet before you make the turn. More than half of the crashes that cause injury or death happen at speeds less than miles per hour and within miles from home. B. 40 miles per hour and within 25 miles. You are parked on a downward slope of a street. It is a one-way street and you are parked against the left curb. Which way should your front wheels be turned? C. To the left. What does a red arrow signal mean? A. Do not make the movement shown by the arrow until the green light appears. If a chain is used as a towing connection between two vehicles, what does the chain need to have displayed on it? C. A white flag at least 12 inches square. Who is more affected by alcohol? C. Young drivers. An average 140-pound women will become legally intoxicated after consuming alcoholic drinks. An average 180-pound man will become legally intoxicated after consuming alcoholic drinks. A. 2 and 3. People who drive after drinking risk all of the above: injuries and fatalities, higher insurance rates, jail sentences, heavy fines, and loss of license. Your car breaks down while driving and forces you to stop. You should have be you should be off the road, hazard lights on, and call for assistance. So let me repeat the question. If your car breaks down while driving and forces you to stop, the first thing you should do is get off the road, hazard lights on, and call for assistance. If you arrive at the scene of an accident where there are injured people, the first thing you have to do is call immediately for help by calling 911. If a school bus stops to unload students on a street and displays its stop signal, all cars must stop and wait until the stop arm is retracted. What does this traffic sign tells us? Restricted lane for certain vehicles during rush hour. When driving on a street made up of 3 to 5 lanes, you should know that the center lane is to maintain constant speed. If a driver refuses to submit to a breath test or blood test for alcohol, your driving privilege will be suspended for 1 year. When you're preparing to drive before starting the engine, you should make sure you close all the doors of your vehicle. This sign warns us of a low area on the road ahead. Drivers sometimes adopt incorrect ways when driving. The correct way to drive is with both hands holding the steering wheel. If you approach a railroad crossing without control signals, you should be prepared to slow down and listen and watch for any trains that are approaching. When you drive on a street with double continuous lines, the driver must know that passing is not permitted in that area. Traffic signs painted red indicate regulatory stop signs. Stop. Do not enter. Wrong way. Yield. If a car suddenly cuts in front of you in your lane and is going to crash into you, honk your horn and flash your lights. Brake hard and maneuver your car to the right edge. Let me repeat that answer. Honk your horn and flash your lights. Brake hard and maneuver your car to the right edge. You are stopped on a railway line. The train finishes passing so you can proceed when you are sure another train doesn't come. This warning sign alerts us that there is soon A divided highway that begins. This sign means that later, divided highway ends. Can someone drink alcohol and drive safely? No one can drink alcohol and drive safely. There are intersections with control signals that have sensors to detect vehicles when a car stops with a red light behind the pedestrian line. Alcohol reduces all the skills necessary to drive safely, such as judgment, reaction, vision, and concentration. What is the first thing that alcohol affects? The judgment of a person. A yellow traffic sign, like this one, warns us of right lane reduction. When preparing to drive, you must put on your seatbelt correctly and make sure that all passengers also put on their seatbelts. All drivers and passengers with vehicles manufactured after 1972 are required to travel with a seatbelt in place unless a passenger has a medical condition. When driving on a main road with traffic lines, dashed white color tells us that the vehicles move in the same direction and you can change lane when safe. If you're driving on a road and see this traffic sign on your right, it tells us that we are approaching a railway crossing. When you arrive at an intersection and see a pedestrian with a white cane with the intention of crossing, you must stop completely and give way. Be careful when he approaches because he is blind. Always stop before turning right on a red light and look both ways to see if there are pedestrians or cyclists in the crosswalk. What is the maximum height allowed between the pavement and the bottom of the front and rear bumper of a 3,000 pounds to 5,000 pounds pickup truck? 20 inches tall. 28 inches tall. Excuse me. If you're going to tow another vehicle with a chain or rope, you must place A white flag in the center of the towing chain or rope. A traffic sign like this one. A flashing yellow light tells us if you are approaching a drawbridge function, you should be prepared to stop. If you're driving and your right wheels come off the pavement, you should take your foot off the accelerator, hold the steering wheel firmly, and slow down slowly. If you have a car with conventional brakes, in case of emergency, you must pump the brakes repeatedly to prevent them from locking. If you drive a vehicle with conventional brakes in heavy rain and your car starts to skid, you should take your foot off the accelerator and steer your car in a straight line. It is prohibited by law to race in the streets. If found guilty of this crime, driver's license will be suspended, criminal charges, and possible jail time. Turn signals are also required by law when changing lanes. Passing a vehicle or turning, you must turn on your turn signal at least 100 feet, 30 meters before turning. Turning a corner may seem like a simple operation, but many crashes occur because drivers do not turn correctly. When making a turn, you should reduce your turning speed to a safe speed and get into the correct lane in time. Driver tells you that your brake lights are not working, you should roll down the driver's window and signal hands to communicate with other drivers. The driver's left arm and hand are extended upward. This hand signal means that the driver plans to turn right or change into the right lane. If a driver puts his hand out the left window, and keeps it extended outward, he is telling us he or she intends to turn left or change into the left lane. If a driver puts his hand out the window and keeps it extended downward, he is telling us he or she is going to stop or slow down. When should you double your following distance behind another car? Let me repeat. When should you double your following distance behind another car? When it rains or the roads are wet low visibility, dusk, dawn, fog. You drive a heavy truck or motorhome, you will need to take into account how far you follow other vehicles. Therefore, you should double the following distance. When passed by another car, you should not increase your speed while another vehicle passes you. When you're about to pass another car on the left, you should not return to the right side until you can see that you can visually see the tires of the vehicle you passed on your rear view mirror. Repeating the question. When you're about to pass another car on the left, you should not return to the right until you can see on your mirror the tires of the vehicle you passed on your rear view mirror. Hope that makes sense. Use a 3-point turn only if the road is too narrow or narrow. First thing you should do is move to the right as far as you can, make a left turn signal, check, and proceed. You are driving on a highway. You must remember that the greatest dangers are on highways, and those dangers are rear end car crashes from driving too close. If you're going to drive on a highway, you must plan your trip. You must know exactly where you will enter and where you will exit, especially if you're a beginner driver. If you're ready to exit the highway, you should begin to slow down as soon as you exit the highway and are on an exit ramp. A flashing red light indicate stop and proceed with caution when all is clear. A red triangle tells drivers to yield. If two drivers arrive at an intersection controlled by a four-way stop sign at the same time, the driver on the right has the right of way first. If you unlawfully obtain a handicap parking certification to park, you will be imposed a fine of $500 and up to 6 months in prison. If you approach an intersection with broken traffic lights, how should you proceed? Just like a four-way stop sign. Every time you prepare to drive, before starting the engine, your vehicle must be in parking or neutral. What does this traffic sign indicate? That we must leave that left lane for faster moving traffic and move to the right lane if we are driving slower. You should adjust your vehicle's rear view mirrors so that You don't need to lean forward or backward to see in mirrors. A sign like this warns us of a winding road, many curves. When driving behind a truck, you must stay at a distance that the truck driver can see you in the rear view mirror. You must remove all objects that could block your vision to the mirrors and the road. When you're preparing right before starting to drive. When reaching an intersection with this traffic sign, we must know that it is prohibited to make a U turn. When preparing to drive, the seatbelt must be correctly placed in such a way that passes through the lap, through the chest, height above the hip. If you approach a stop sign without visible stop lines, you must stop firmly without blocking the pedestrian path. If a law enforcement officer stops you and finds you have a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or higher, your driver's license will be indeed suspended. What is the warning of this traffic sign? Narrow or narrow bridge. What is the maximum distance you can park from the curb or sidewalk? 12 to 18 inches. When we reach an intersection, we notice a sign like this. What does it tell us? Right turn prohibited. If you're driving on a multi lane road and a car suddenly cuts into your lane and cuts you off, you should slow down and stay calm. When driving down a street, you can find a sign like this. What does it tell us? Can't go straight, you must turn right or left. If you stop on a red light at an intersection, when traffic turns green, you must proceed only when the intersection is clear. A white rectangular shaped sign indicate the maximum speed allowed. When driving on a road with more than two lanes in the same direction, if you want to change lanes, you must turn on your flashing lights and check blind spot by turning head over shoulder. This sign warns us that ahead there is a slippery road. When approaching an intersection with a green light, you must proceed through the intersection only if it's clear of other vehicles and pedestrians. Before turning at an intersection, we must yield to all cyclists and pedestrians coming from any direction. A yellow sign like this tells us that ahead there is a sharp curve to the right. You must slow down and stay to the right. This traffic sign tells us the maximum speed you can drive at that area. If you come to an intersection with a flashing yellow light, you should slow down and cross the intersection with caution. When driving behind a large truck, you should maintain a safe following distance so that the truck driver can see through rear view mirrors. The low beams of your vehicle must be placed from dusk till dawn. When there is fog, rain, or smoke, you should use your low beam highlights. If you approach a stop sign, you should come to a complete stop before the crosswalk. If you are stopped at an intersection with a red light and traffic blocks the intersection when the light turns green, you should only proceed when the intersection is clear. A flashing yellow light at an intersection tells you that the driver must slow down and proceed with caution. 70 miles per hour is the maximum speed at highways. If a passenger over 18 years of age travels without a seat belt in the front seat, who do you think will be fined? The passenger. On a two-lane highway, the maximum speed allowed is 55 miles per hour. Unless otherwise indicated, what is the default speed limit allowed in most city areas? Let me repeat. Unless otherwise indicated, what is the default speed limit allowed in most city areas? 30 miles per hour. What does this traffic sign tells us? Clear as day. No passing zone. When you want to pass another vehicle on the left, you must activate your turn signal before moving into the left lane and do not exceed the speed limit. Vehicles manufactured before 1972 were not manufactured with seat belts. Therefore, You cannot be fined if you are traveling in a car manufactured before 1972. What is the recommended speed allowed in highway exit ramp? Between 25 to 45 miles per hour, depending on curve and road. When entering from the entrance ramp into the right lane of a highway, you must adjust your speed to a safe speed and use your turn signals to warn. If you're driving in the left lane of a road and suddenly another car is approaching faster in the same lane behind you, you should move to the right lane if you need to go slower. What warning does this sign tells us? Traffic that merges into your lane. Convergence. It is said that at intersections, more accidents occur than anywhere else. Never make last minute turns. If you come to an intersection where you want to turn and you're not in the correct lane, drive to the next intersection and then turn from the correct lane. This traffic sign tells us that we are approaching a roundabout. If you're driving on a main avenue and see a truck in your right lane moving in reverse to perform an entry maneuver into a space, you should stay a safe distance from the truck and just wait. When you stop at an intersection with a red light to turn right, you should check if there is any sign that prohibits you from doing so. Which of these signs prohibits you from turning on a red light? Correct answer is A. No turn on red. If you're driving on a road and see this traffic sign, it tells us that ahead there is road in opposite directions. If you intend to turn left at an intersection with a green light, you must yield to all moving vehicles in the opposite direction. After correctly adjusting your rear view mirrors, you must remember that you will still have parts of the blind spot that cannot be seen in the mirrors. You have to look over your shoulder. If you are driving on a road of two or more lanes with the intention of changing lanes after placing your turn signal lights, you must look over your shoulder to spot a vehicle in your blind spot. If your vehicle has an ABS anti lock brake system in an emergency braking situation, you must press the brake Pedal fully, hold it down, and steer to safety.